This is the Frat House Sports Show. And now, for this week's completely different and often humorous take on everything sports, here are Frat House Mike, Uncle Mark, and Sidekick.
And welcome to 5 Recs at the Frat House with Juan Pablo McShane and Sideways Sidekick.
That was a nice intro, but that's not the one I was looking for. Welcome back to the Frat House. As we come to you here.
Quiet, numbskull. I'm broadcasting.
As we come to you here on the first week of August. Yes, and we're going with it. It's live. I was just about to say we had a couple of weeks off. Obviously, you did.
Yes, we did.
We all doing okay? How's everybody doing? We're all after a couple. We had 2 weeks off. I hope everybody had a chance to get out there and see. We weren't here. We had pre-recorded the Roundtable program. You better had seen it. It's one of our greatest programs ever. I mean, doing the Roundtable is so much fun.
And I missed it.
And we missed having you.
We missed you.
Yeah, we missed having you, truly. But it's
I'm
a great
looking for the
program.
least possible amount of responsibility.
If you haven't, don't
hesitate.
Yeah, don't think it's old. It's not. Go over and take a look at that one from last week, because listen, football is still 4 weeks away. Yeah, we got preseason kicking in. Oh, just this very evening. Well, it actually started over the weekend. We're going to talk about that in a moment. That Hall of Fame game, did you watch it, Sidekick? I know Uncle watched it.
Unfortunately, due to circumstances, I did not get to watch that.
Did not see that one. We got 6 games this evening. 2 of them, I think, are being nationally broadcast. We know that the 49ers and Ravens are. Only one. The Dallas game's not on? I thought the Dallas game was going to be on.
I'm sorry. Who
Cowboys?
wants to watch Dallas?
Listen, I want to watch them all. I'm dying for sports here.
Well, we
Come
do
on.
on Sundays.
NFL Network may be rebroadcasting it after this game, but it'll be over.
Oh, I thought
It'll be a replay.
All right, well, all right.
The only game on tonight that's live is this game right now.
This game right here.
It's an outrage.
Which right now we've got Baltimore 7-3, and the brothers are going at it.
The hardball,
yeah.
Well, I understand the reason that they're not playing the Dallas game is because they want to make sure they edit it just in case, Jerry Jones is in any inappropriate, situations during the game.
Cheerleaders, potentially.
Yes.
Maybe, something like that, yeah.
Yeah,
Or other young female of that.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, but they haven't told us if everything really is bigger in Texas, and those girls could tell us. I want to.
It was just 2 weeks ago we were sitting here making stories up. Are you getting the sense that, hey, we're not doing that anymore? Yeah, things have kind of lightened up a little bit, loosened up. All of a sudden, football season's here, and, well, we're ready to get back into some sports.
Now.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah, we got some stories. We got a couple of big stories, and let's get to the big stories right about now. And I'm going to wrap up a number of the big stories here all together into kind of one big story under my question. And my question is this evening. Do ethics exist any longer truly in pro sports? Now, I might be sounding euphemistic, but truly, I asked the question, is there any semblance of ethics left in professional sports at all? Let's start it off. What I consider to be kind of a serious dilemma for Roger Goodell and what he has actually created for himself. First was Goodell's decision to suspend Baltimore Ravens running back Ray Rice a mere 2 games for allegedly decking his girlfriend, now wife. That incident, ultimately had perpetuated last week a rather awkward press conference where Rice repeatedly indicated that his wife, quote unquote, can do no wrong, while never admitting that he ever did anything wrong himself. At the same time, however, that press conference wasn't near as awkward as the one that I thought took place back in May, that took place with Ray and his wife under the banner of the Baltimore Ravens. I got a question. When did it ever become acceptable for a team player to discuss his off-field activity on the team stage? Isn't that kind of thing usually reserved for his driveway? Huh? Suddenly, Ray Rice and his girlfriend/wife are showing up with the Baltimore Ravens logo showing up behind them in May. I just don't understand that one. It became apparent, though, at that moment to me, unlike other egregious matters, like, the rumored gangland-style murder of, that occurred with one Aaron Hernandez. What did the Patriots do immediately? Well, how about immediately the very next morning after the allegation surfaced? They cut Hernandez. Not the Ravens. No, they're not only backing their boy up, they're giving him a stage to talk about it. It's a simple matter of domestic violence. Come on now. I mean, really. I mean, what are we all making a big fuss about? It's not like he killed the chick. Seems Goodell has towed the line of the Ravens, further digging his own hole when he defended his 2-game suspension. Quote, Ray recognizes he made a horrible mistake, and it's unacceptable by his standards and ours. We have to remain consistent. We can't just make up the discipline. Well, that being said, Goodell now has a bigger predicament. What to do with Cleveland Browns wide receiver Josh Gordon, who during the offseason failed a drug test, making that Gordon's third strike. Well, now, let's make no mistake about this. Browns owner Jimmy Haslam has to have Gordon on the field for his new media sensation QB, Johnny Football. Yeah, he has to. And if you don't think he's going to go put a little pressure on Goodell, think again. If we follow Goodell's statement that the NFL has to be consistent and we can't make it up, discipline, this would mean Gordon is out forever. That's 3 strikes. You're out according to what's consistent with the NFL. Well, now slow your roll on that one. Defenses to Gordon are presenting evidence that he was simply present where drugs were being used. His levels displayed that of secondhand smoke. Seems that we have heard the, hey, I never inhaled defense before, and we all smirked then. Today, well, we're kind of in a lather. Gordon is being railroaded, don't you know? Come on! How will Goodell handle this one? He's damned if he does, and he's damned if he doesn't, the way I see it. How the hell do you hand down penalties for marijuana use when it seemingly becomes more and more apparent that it's becoming legal nationwide on almost a daily basis? However, if Goodell hands out a penalty stronger than Rice's, then the message becomes that marijuana use is more serious than beating up your wife. And if he doesn't, he's a fraud to his own consistent discipline. Let's take this one step further. Why hasn't there been quicker action? Hell, why hasn't there even been a statement made from Goodell regarding Indianapolis Colts owner Jim Irsay, who was found with $29,000 in cash plus numerous bottles of prescription medication when he was charged with another DUI offense in March? 3 different but eerily similar circumstances that will be analyzed not individually but collectively and provide us all a bit of light into the ethical soul of Roger Goodell. Now, I'm not done there. Because meanwhile, however, over in Major League Baseball this week, Tony Bosch, the man who founded, owned, and operated the Florida-based biogenesis company that sparked the most recent round of PED usage in baseball, turned himself into federal authorities this week. Bosch will face charges of, are we ready, 1 count of conspiracy to distribute. Yeah, you heard me. Seriously. 1 count of conspiracy. Oh, he didn't actually distribute. He just conspired to distribute, despite the fact he admitted to all of his actions on national television. It was revealed in a USA Today article, quote, his testimony was crucial to Major League Baseball's efforts to discipline those linked to biogenesis. Bosch agreed to cooperate with MLB. In return for his cooperation, MLB vowed to put in a good word for Bosch in any legal proceeding. That time apparently has come, end quote. What in the world is going on? When did Major League Baseball gain legal authority to barter and make judicious decisions and deals with criminals? Major League Baseball is a business organizational entity. When did testifying to just them count for anything in our legal courts of law? Gentlemen, I am sitting here and I am shaking my head at so many of these incongruous situations all converging at the exact same time and wondering what the hell happened to ethic and where is it all going? Comments? Throw it open.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to go right to the top of the order because I've got a little. You know what? I think our commissioner of NFL is a bit confused, and I think as a public service, I should speak to him. And I'd like to take a minute, if I could, gentlemen, to speak to Roger because I know he's out there, and I know he watches our show. So listen, hey Roger, how's about you reconsider? Okay, maybe reconsider a year-long suspension of Ray Rice for assault and battery. How's about you drop the hammer as a truly defining moment for the NFL in the area of domestic violence against women who, since 2010, have come to represent 45% of the entire fan base, huh? Hey, Roger, how's about you man up on this inexcusable behavior rather than relegate it, the shameful perpetration, as just a mere happenstance of a mistake? How about you demonstrate more than simply costuming your league in pink every October in counterfeit support of women's health? We've all seen where most of that money goes. And coupled with the facts of the Ray Rice 2-game ban, your pink parade is now seen for just what it is, a patronizing and condescending merchandise vehicle. Keep your equivocations, Roger. We're all full up here. But if you can't see the injustice to women and the inequity displayed to nearly one half of the NHL fan base who are women, we will need you to surrender your man card for closer inspection and maybe revocation. That is all.
We become a nation of wusses.
You listening, Roger? Nicely done. Comments on any of this nonsense?
Well, I think I'm kind of in the minority here.
Okay. Well, that should pose for an interesting debate.
Oh, yes.
Because, you're sitting here and you're comparing a first offense for Ray Rice. Okay?
Yes.
I'm saying, you're comparing a third offense for Josh Gordon. Mm-hmm. And, Irsay, one percenters. They one percenters have their own scale of justice. Mm-hmm. Okay? As far as I know, Ray Rice's first offense. Okay? He gets a 2-game suspension, I forget, half a $500,000. Josh Gordon, as you said, should probably be out of the league.
Right.
If you look at Josh Gordon's record, he's got this flimsy, it's secondhand smoke. Oh, it's secondhand smoke, and you have no previous altercations with marijuana. You didn't get kicked out of Baylor because you popped hot twice for a test,
right.
And you didn't wind up going to Utah, and then never play in Utah because guess what? You popped hot again. Mm-hmm. So, a 16-game, a season suspension. They're trying to barter down to 8. I think carries a little bit because it's a third offense type nature versus a first offense type nature.
How is it consistent, however, with what the NFL policy has been, which is 3 strikes, you are out?
Well, right. He should be out.
No, it's not out. It's an indefinite suspension with the ability to reapply within a year.
Okay.
Year.
Okay, but that's not what we're talking, and that has not even been brought up as a potential possibility.
No. Well, no. They're saying it's going to be either, if it goes to the ruling, it'll be that or nothing. There is no in between. The arbiter cannot do it. The only kind of deal you're going to see is between the NFL and the NFLPA,
right,
if they meet in the middle before the ruling comes out.
How do we justify the ethics of that kind of a deal being made when it's clearly stated in the rule book what the rules are. Why are we cutting deals that are separate?
Okay,
That's my point.
Can we just say what's fair here? The guy had an A test and a B test. And the A test was 1 nanogram over what it needed to be. The B test in the separate bottle was 2 nanograms under. If you average it out, he never would have popped top.
Yeah.
It was just a random pick of A versus B on the bottle.
I hear you. Sidekick makes the case. We've got a pattern here, however, that goes all the way back to college.
Okay, I understand your pattern, but everybody has said by the levels that it was nothing more than secondhand smoke. He did not smoke. He was just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
In the presence of those that obviously were doing something that was illegal.
Possibly,
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
Which,
Unless they happen to be in
again,
Colorado or Seattle.
And I go back to that at some point or another, the NFL is going to have to back off the whole freaking marijuana use to begin with, because let's get it straight.
Potentially, yeah.
It's going, whether we like it or not, it's going down the line.
Yep.
And it's going to get legalized in more and more and more states, and it's almost becoming passé, to be perfectly blunt.
But I'm not, just.
But the rules are the rules, and that's where I'm going to go with it.
A nanogram over
right now.
A nanogram over is over.
But I think you got to look at the fact that they tested A and B and they came up different.
Yeah.
You know what? That's why they do the 2 samples to provide consistency.
Yeah, and Ryan Braun got off because the goddamn handler didn't handle things rightly.
Yeah.
No, but it's what it is.
There's no handler issue here.
Well, he got off on
It's just a
technicality.
matter of how the urine was divided into the 2 bottles is essentially it. Because the first one came out of the first part of the stream, and the second one came out of the second part of the stream. Whatever.
And then on the Bosch thing, I agree with you. I have no idea why MLB is brokering any kind of deal. But as far as him pleading down and getting it, it happens all the time in court. You get
sure.
You say, hey, if you testify against so and so, we'll cut you a deal.
There you got 2 members of the bar recognized by the judicial system in front of a judge.
Well, exactly. I don't know
who
why.
Who the hell is Bud selling to make a decision?
Exactly. When the guy doesn't even tweet. When he doesn't even tweet or email. Anyway.
I mean, it's all just rather disconcerting. I think that Goodell has got himself a real issue that he's going to have to work himself out of, because as I did point out in my previous sermon there, I think what's going to happen is you're going to have decisions being made on Gordon and probably Irsay before this season officially begins. And what's going to happen is all of it is going to be looked at collectively, not analyzed individually. And one's going to be weighed upon the other in how
Well, and that's where I think folks need to, we were talking about it a little bit pre-show, you kind of got to look at the offenses, what the offense is, the number of offenses, and things like that. You can't just simply throw up, Ray Rice 2-game, list all these people and say, okay, he was domestic abuse, he was PEDs, he was Bountygate, he was this, he was that, and not look at any of the circumstances.
Well, let me put your feet to the fire for a moment. Are you saying then that you think the 2-game suspension for Ray Rice was sufficient under the circumstances?
I don't know. I mean,
you're claiming the first offense issue, so therefore I'm
but I don't
believe that
the
what
problem
you're saying is...
The problem I have with saying that, I think 2 games is sufficient. I don't know what other... I'm not versed enough in first offense suspensions of other offenses to know whether or not a 2-game is enough or not.
Okay, so we're going to the consistency that Roger Goodell is talking about.
Is domestic violence, a big crime? Yeah, absolutely. But where does it weigh with other first-time offense type things? A penalty or, things of that nature. That I'm not that well versed on. 2 games, just off the top of my head sounds a little low for something like that. But that's without looking at any other any other first-time offenses. And I wish I knew.
Precedent. Right. We're going to precedent.
And I wish I knew what other first-time offenses, so I could say, I definitely think that this is, this is not enough. But I was reading some stuff. I pulled up, I gave you the report. I pulled up some things on it, just trying to do a little bit of quick research and stuff. And you've got people saying, hey, domestic violence should be an automatic out of the league offense. In
today's world, one might think. I mean, it's funny because we're actually going to talk about what potentially could have been viewed as a domestic abuse issue back in 1986, I guess, with a Mets player coming up in our screwy stories.
Right.
I mean, that would be viewed as a domestic abuse issue, which would have gotten that guy out of the freaking league. As it turns out, he ends up being the NL MVP 3 years later after the offense took place in 1989. So, all right. Any final thoughts, Mark, on any of this nonsense?
Well, the Irsay thing is really, I think, I don't know. The Gordon, of the three ethical stories from the NFL, the Gordon thing bothers me the least. I'm not going to lie. Okay? I think if this guy's going to hang himself because of his own personal conduct, and again, marijuana is being legalized as we speak across the nation, so the NFL has to be a little more careful about how they're going to handle these, quote, offenses with marijuana. The Irsay thing is, I think that's a watershed event because this man's a repeat offender. And I have to agree with one columnist that recommended, you know what you want to do with a guy like Irsay? You want to strip the guy of draft picks because that's really how you're going to send a message that this is not acceptable behavior. And it got some legs, the idea of losing draft picks with Bountygate. It got some legs with Spygate, right? We did see Robert Kraft. We saw Tom Benson, both owners, pay the price of sanctions. The difference was that was sort of competitive violations, whereas Irsay's going to be what? He's going to be branded as, oh, he's an addict, so we're going to treat it differently. It's a sickness. Listen, it's bullshit no matter how you cut it, okay? Yeah. And the only way you're going to get a billionaire attention is not by giving him sanctions and not by giving him fines, but by taking away draft picks and his ability to compete on the field.
But don't you hurt the fan base and not the people not the person that needs to be, I guess, in some respects, punished.
No, I agree with you.
You're hurting the fan base. That's who you're hurting.
No, I agree
with
you.
And they're stuck with that owner. There's nothing they can do.
The New Orleans Saints fans had to go through it. New England Patriots had to go through it. Last year there was
weren't some of those draft picks with the Saints given back?
I think all but one.
Okay, so they did lose most of their...
I think they ended up losing a second-round pick.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Tomlin last year with the Steelers, if you remember, he stood on the field and supposedly was blocking Jacoby Jones. During the Ravens game, they were going to take a draft pick away. Well, that didn't survive. But in fact, when those things seem to happen, they're based on quote competition, not personal conduct. But listen, I mean, if personal conduct is all that, then people representing that team have to understand they're letting their fan base down. The NFL is not.
Well, you talk about a precedent, though, but didn't Adam Silver set the precedent in the NBA? If you've got an owner like this, you get him the hell out. That's what we just went through with the LA Clippers. I mean, rather than hurt the fan base, remove the owner.
Yeah, but it's...
Well, Irsay's going to hand it over to his family, so I don't think that's going to change.
It's not just a DUI, dude. He had $29,000 worth of cash and all kinds of...
multiple bags.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
He had enough quantity of drugs that he's going to be charged with intent.
You just got done talking about a pattern, and you brought it up with Gordon.
Right.
We got a pattern here.
Oh, we certainly do with Irsay, and that's why I say I find it more disturbing.
What I was going to say was, of the three stories, I find the Irsay story the worst of them all.
So do I.
Ray Rice, while the punishment may have been lenient, he got punishment. Irsay's getting away with it.
For the moment.
Yeah, and he just cut a guy for drugs.
Right.
Yeah. What? Huh? So, I find that Irsay story.
Well,
the most,
I agree. I find it despicable. And I think there should be sanctions against the club. And I feel sorry for this fan base, but I think the fan base has to turn their back on that man and not the NFL, because the NFL should stand up. If they're going to say they're going to stand up, then stand up. Roger, you hearing us? Stand up. That's all we're asking for. Show me your man card.
I think we made up for making up stories 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I think we just made up for it.
Oh, boy, is my face red.
No, not at all.
Buddy.
Well, maybe only because we got a little heated here. What do you say we stick with a little football, though? We're going to stick with football. This is the first full week of preseason. As we had just mentioned, preseason games are going on 6 tonight. And that means that what we need to do right now is resurrect one of our and our fans' favorite segments. Every week, any one of us here on the panel can bring anything football related to the table, but we have exactly just 4 minutes to get through whatever is brought up. And it's a little something we call...
And now, 4 minutes of football.
It's football season.
Thomas, Washington Redskins owner Dan Snyder, well, frankly, he would do himself a favor just to cloister himself in his office and, in my opinion, just count the revenues of the merchandise from RG3, Pierre Garçon, and Alfred Morris jerseys, proudly emblazoned with the Redskins logo, as opposed to going on a tour, as he just did, to defend his position, to keep the controversial name of the team. Repeatedly, Snyder went out and gave interviews and looked, in my opinion, rather pathetic, staring into the camera, claiming how the Redskins' name is one of honor and respect. But the worst was when the team sent longtime kicker and alumnus Mark Moseley on the speaking tour. The other day, Moseley appeared on Channel 8 Sports Talk segment down in Washington, D.C., similarly defending the team's position, except in his rant, he repeatedly made reference to Native Americans as quote-unquote Indians and, quote, the red man, quote. In fact, in Moseley's short appearance, he referenced the term red man 16 times. Quote, if it was Indians, then I would be concerned, Moseley said. But everyone that said anything to me has been a white man or a black man. No red man has said anything derogatory to me about it. I gotta be honest, gentlemen, as I'm hearing it, even I was cringing at Moseley's statements. What a moron. I mean, this thing is going to just absolutely melt in front of everybody's... if they just shut the hell up.
Well, we just sent Biden to speak, for crying out loud.
That might be a good alternative. Listen, since Chip Kelly took over as head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, many in the fan base have clamored for the return of the Kelly green jerseys from the pre-Laurie days. But however, the team brass has consistently maintained no change would take place, as the Kelly green represents a period of Eagles history when the team was dreadful. Obviously, they're not remembering the Super Bowl appearance that the team had in 1981, where they wore Kelly green. Until yesterday. That was until yesterday. Team president Don Smolensky...
They lost that Super Bowl.
They got there. Don Smolensky stated on a local sports talk radio show that the team has actively discussed returning to that color scheme, and but that due to strict NFL rules regarding uniforms, well, it takes time to have these kinds of things take place. But I want to make this very clear to all the Eagles fans that are out there. While it's possible that in the future there may very well, you might see a return to the Kelly green on the field, do not think that for 1 second it's going to replace the regular Sunday unis. If in fact that Kelly green does come back, it has already been told to almost everyone that it would be a every once in a while alternate. That's how it would go. So anybody thinking that they're going to get the Kelly green, I like the Kelly green personally. I'd love to see them go back to it. But All right,
I'd like to see him win a Super Bowl, personally.
Well, yeah, I would like to see. Well,
but
maybe
that's not going to happen.
Last but not least, talk about a team that won't win a Super Bowl. How about the New York Giants? Well, at least not this year, anyhow. The New York Giants and the NFL, really, as a whole, got some rather bad news the other day when 23-year-old 2012 first-round draft pick David Wilson was forced to retire after just 21 professional games due to health concerns. Wilson only played 5 games last season after suffering a neck injury, and despite being cleared for camp this season, trainers treated him for a neck burner during practice last week. Within days, team doctors recommended that Wilson leave the game for good as a result of spinal stenosis, a narrowing of the spinal canal. In the 21 games that Wilson appeared, he had over 2,200 yards on the ground, 1,700 plus of those during kick returns, and 5 TDs. I will say this, and I am not a Giants fan, but he was an absolute joy to watch, whether you are a Giants fan or not. He was exciting, and it is a darn shame, and I think a great loss for the NFL not to be able to see what this kid could have done for many, many years into the future with the Giants or with whomever, because he was a lot of fun to watch. And I wish the best to David Wilson. Really nicely done, too, in his press conference yesterday. Mark, I know you had some thoughts.
The kid's going to go in the record books. There's no two ways around it. He already is. He's the first player in NFL history with 200 kick return yards and 100 rushing yards in the same game. And the second player since 1970 with a kick return TD and 2 rushing TDs in the same game. Just outstanding. I know he is sad to go, but I think it takes a lot of brains to walk away at this point, and that's what he's going to do. And as he himself said, I wanted to be a hero in the NFL. I'm going to be a hero in life. And I absolutely agree with you, Frat House Mike. I wish the kid a lot of success. He was great to watch.
Hats off to David Wilson.
And this is, for Tom Coughlin, this is actually good news.
Yeah, because it only makes his seat hotter.
No, but exactly. So now he doesn't have to hear the hot seat talk this season because he's got his get out of jail free card now.
I don't know about that.
Oh, I lost David Wilson for the season.
Isn't he working in the last year of the contract? He's in the last year, I believe, of the contract.
I think they keep adding one on to make it not the last.
See, I'm telling you, watch. Mark my words. It's his get out of jail free card.
Every year they don't fire him, they just tack on one more so he's not a lame duck. I think that's the way they're doing with Coughlin.
All right. Well, all right, there's our football talk. Boy, we had a lot of it, and we haven't even had one full legal snap yet this season, and you can expect that to continue for the next 3 weeks before the first one comes along in early September. And football may be starting, but we still do have some meaningful baseball going on in many cities around the country, just not here. And that means we have to get to our Major League Baseball segment for this week, brought to you by our good friends Jim and Carl over at CLW83.com. New programs, new broadcasts going up over there on their internet network all the time, including Jim's most recent Touch 'em All program that was just released. So what you want to do is get over to CLW83.com and check it out. Now, in the meantime, as I insinuated, I got a couple of screwy stories. Yeah.
It's time again for Frat House Mike's Screwball Stories.
Jim's going to want a royalty check.
Here we go.
2 times in one show?
No.
I'll make sure to mail him that Blazer.
Who does that?
Dairy
Who
Queen
has
Blazer
time?
coupon
The
we got.
coupon? The coupon.
Yeah.
All right, Jim, it's in the mail.
They
All
made
right.
a kid's Frosty, or a kid's
There you go.
Blizzard.
It's in the mail, Jim.
Along with my condolences for your fantasy football season.
Jim's doing some stuff for us right now on the, we want to keep him. Don't go. Listen, many Mets fans, particularly from that 1986 World Series team, which included folks like Darryl Strawberry, Gary Carter, Dwight Gooden. Well, they'll also remember the name of Kevin Mitchell. While the Kevin Mitchell story was told 15 years ago in Doc Gooden's autobiography, It was kind of buried in the book, but the story of Kevin Mitchell being drunk and angry, holding his girlfriend hostage with a 12-inch knife, and beheading his girlfriend's cat right in front of her with one single blow got new legs this week when it was verbally confirmed by Darryl Strawberry in a Huffington Post interview. Quote, Kevin Mitchell did do that. Kevin Mitchell, he's a different type of guy. I'd say so. Great guy, super teammate. Just don't piss him off. And don't be a cat.
And why wasn't this under?
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's what. He goes on to say, I guess he figured that the girlfriend was acting a little crazy, so I'll kill her cat.
You really piss me off.
This is what Darryl Strawberry had to say,
He did a lot of cocaine, you know.
Yeah, I remember.
I'm just saying.
I gotta
Put me in, coach.
Yeah, right. You know, he may not
I'm
be
up for the
thinking
game.
real
Can
clearly
you imagine this happening today in any sport and word leaking out one way or another? I'm shocked that they were able to keep a lid on it all those years. But word
That was
leaking
a
out.
different time, Mike.
Well, yeah, I guess we didn't have social media and instantaneous stuff. But consider for a moment, Mitchell went and did that, but then later on went to become the 1989 National League MVP for the San Francisco Giants. And we're talking about guys not even being in leagues any longer. Had that come out, this guy is not only not in a league, he's probably in a jail cell someplace. Dear God. All right, there we go. Now, this one's so bizarre, I'm gonna have to get some support on it. This has to get the award for the most bizarre play in baseball this season, perhaps maybe this century. It occurred the other night between the Cincinnati Reds and the Cleveland Indians in Cleveland. Now, at the precise moment that Reds right fielder Jay Bruce was retrieving the baseball that Indians catcher Yan Gomez slashed to deep right field for a double, Cincinnati reliever Jumbo Diaz uncorked a wild pitch while warming up in the visitors' bullpen behind the wall. All right, and are we following this? Diaz's errant throw tipped off the glove of bullpen catcher Nilson Antigua and sailed over Bruce and landed in shallow right field during the course of play. Uncle Mark, I'm going to bring you in here because you seem to have captured this a little bit better than I did because I was so damn confused. Go ahead, tell us what happened then next. So we've got an errant ball that's sitting out in right field.
This was one of those that, yeah, I mean, it's a 1 in a million kind of thing because, but for the fact that the play was live and there was a live ball and it was played by the right fielder and it was played to second base, and at the same time, up bloops over the bullpen into the field and dribbling down into shortstop range comes this errant ball that the base runner, Murphy, running to third,
right,
has a look, sees the not live ball, but the errant ball, and says, wow, that was an error, and makes a run past third, only to realize, I guess the third base coach waved him back, said, no, that's not you. The live ball's coming. And of course, he got tagged out at third with the live ball. But I'll tell you what, this, if you haven't seen it, you really must, because it's the craziest play where literally there are two balls on the field, and hey, 1 in a million, just 1 in a million. It's an awesome screwy story.
Well, and you and I were talking about it a little bit pre-show. Zach Cozart, apparently, who's the second baseman for the Reds, actually had the ball in his glove. Mm-hmm. But you can understand how David Murphy, coming around second base, would have his back to the outfield and turns third base, jumping off at third base, maybe a step or two, looks out to the outfield, sees a ball, and goes, oh, I can make it home, not realizing that Cozart's got the real ball in his hand, standing over at second base, fires it over to third, and bam, he's out as he steps off the plate.
Well, let me ask you this, gentlemen. Does it really sound that screwy to be playing with two balls?
I don't know if I want to go near that.
I don't know if it's that screwy. Oh, okay.
What the hell is happening?
No.
Who's in charge there?
Oh.
Well, needless to say, Francona came out and there was a lot of, required explanation to make this play official. Evidently, it was not reviewable, so they couldn't go back and, challenge it or whatever. Because you might have thought
would you
in
really
this
want to
day and
review
age you can challenge.
Playing with two balls? I mean, come on now.
You always got to bring it down to something like that.
I know. That's my job. That's why I'm here.
This is good. This is good stuff. And Mark, you can see the video right over in USA Today.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's available out there for the Win Sports Illustrated. You'll see it.
Yeah, just remember, it's not safe for work.
Funny stuff.
Oh gosh. All right. Last but not least, while both the New York Mets and the Philadelphia Phillies are battling it out for last place in the NL East, debates rage among both fan bases as to which team has made the most mistakes. The Mets won that this week. Last Friday evening, the Mets had a fan giveaway promotion giving fans a W.B. Mason replica miniature delivery truck emblazoned
I would love
with
one
the
of those.
team's logo on the door. Except it wasn't a Mets logo on the door that Mets fans received. If you look closely,
Wait,
that's
that looks like a Liberty Bell there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Hey, now that's a Phillies logo.
With the Mets packaging.
What it is what it is.
Yeah,
Hey, is
but
you
the
is or is you
Phils?
ain't? Is you is or is you ain't?
Why don't you drop by my office then?
Nice.
Mets, you are the biggest losers. And listen, we here at Frat House Sports have certainly gotten our mileage out of this story, as it also was our Frat House Sports Facebook post of the week. Hey, I didn't plan it this way, folks. It just happens. Yes, that post where I put up the information,
Nice.
over 500 views and shares all across the internet universe from Frat House Sports. Yes, it did. And humor at its best over on our Frat House Sports page, Facebook page, which means that's why you got to get over there and give us a like. So what are you waiting for? Frat House Sports, Facebook. Hit the like button, dummy. It's not that tough.
What do we got to come over there and do it for you?
I know, really. Honestly. You're going to do everything for these people.
What's the matter with these people,
It's not
man?
bad enough we bring you a great show every week. Like this one.
Tell them to go do laps. You don't want to watch this here? Go run laps.
Yeah, there you go. That's what you gotta do. All right, let's go take a look real quick, because it's been a couple of weeks at the AL and NL standings in Major League Baseball. Baltimore Orioles continue to hold the top spot in the East, 4 games in front of the Toronto Blue Jays. Detroit Tigers have lost a few recently, and now just 3 games ahead of the Royals. Come on, KC. You're still in there. And the A's have the best record in baseball still, but they're just now 2 games in front of the Angels. Over in the National League, the Washington Nationals are now kind of pulling out in front of the rest of the pack. They're now 4.5 games in front of the Braves. And the Brewers, just 1.5 games in front of your Cardinals, who I'm sure we're going to start looking at it probably starting next week. Absolutely a wild card team. And the Dodgers now 3 games in front of the Giants. All right, there you go. There's our baseball report for this week again, brought to you by CLW83.com. Thanks, guys, and get over there and check them out on the internet. Been a couple of weeks since we've talked NASCAR, and we've had a couple of races since we last talked. So we have some newer developments that we need to bring to you now that we just have 5 races. Just 5 races remaining in the regular 26 race season. And our racing report, as always, is brought to you by our friends at Herb FM Sports Radio down in Baltimore, Maryland. And be sure to check out their programming. Again, always including rebroadcasts of our programs right here. Tuesday night, 3-hour marathon. Started at 9, went until midnight, which included, by the way, our roundtable show. We talked about it at the top of the show. You got to get over there and check that one out. That one from last week. Our NFL preseason one. They rebroadcast that on Tuesday night over on Herb FM Sports Radio, herbfm.com. Get over there and check them out. We made our second trip this past weekend to the Tricky Triangle up in Pocono.
Yep.
And for all intent and purpose, they could have fooled us all by just simply basically running a replay of the first one from earlier, just a couple of weeks ago, really, back in June. Could have just run that because the result was, well, the same. As Dale Earnhardt Jr. took the checkered after leading just 14 laps. Jeff Gordon, 63 laps led, but he came in 6th. And Kurt Busch, who always runs well here, well, he had 30 laps led, but well, he ended up in 13th. So it was Junior with a sweep of the Pocono this season. Kyle Busch, boy, we've seen this a little too frequently recently. Blown engine, and was out of the race by lap 23. Jimmy Johnson, who visited the wall twice, as you can see here.
Yep, sorry, yep, right there.
Oh, wait a minute.
Wait, hold on.
Oh no! That's not the right. That's not the. That's not the right photo. The next. It's got to be the next. There it is. That's the right photo. There we go. Ultimately, Jimmy Johnson was a DNF at lap 111. So now we got three-time winners. Let's go take a look real quick at the leaderboard, because that shook things up just a tad bit up at the top. You got Dale up there at the very top in points and wins. Well, yeah, but but I'm
overall,
saying no, I understand. Yeah. If we're just talking points, overall it'd be Gordon. But in points and wins, we got Dale up there at 740, and it goes down from there. And I was just saying pre-show that I think by next week now we start counting it down. You only have 4 races left after when we get through to next week. Well, I'm going to start bringing a little longer leaderboard because it's going to start getting more and more interesting as we go near the bottom to see who's actually going to get in.
Yeah, because a couple weeks ago we discussed guys that were out, big names that were out, and after Pocono, Biffle now got himself into the 16th spot.
Well, how many cautions did we end up at Pocono? 9, I believe.
Yep.
And so.
Well, and then we had a big one.
Yep.
Had Tony Stewart.
Yep.
Up in the air.
On the back of a car.
Yep.
It was on the back of
that was
Menard's.
a 13-car pileup.
Yeah, on the back of Menard's car. So, yeah, I forgot to get the picture of that. Somebody should have reminded me. But, all right.
Well, we can't do everything for you, Mike. I mean, come on now. We're only human.
Okay, we're heading to road course.
You have to ask me nicely.
Road course this weekend, and we're heading up to Watkins Glen. We're going to the Glen in New York. Always fun, always interesting, always a challenge for picking fantasy on a road course, but particularly Watkins Glen. Suggestions for this week, Sidekick?
Well, since this is a road course and picking the roster is best done after qualifying, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a couple names, and then Saturday, once I get the qualifying results, then we'll post up what the Sidekick's actual.
The race is Saturday, is it?
Sunday.
It's Sunday?
Yes, it's Sunday.
Qualifying Saturday.
Okay.
Friday.
Okay.
Qualifying
Saturday's
Friday.
when he's going to put the picks on the website.
Yeah.
Got it. All right. So you want to go to Facebook?
Yep.
Okay. You got another reason you got to.
I mean, if you want, I'll try to shoot a video you can post on the website.
If you want to do that, but at the very least, you want to make sure you're liking our Facebook page, Frat House Sports, and then you'll be able to find those.
Yep.
On Saturday. Go ahead.
So, some general information about Watkins Glen, and then I'll throw a few names out there for you. When looking at your roster, once qualifying is done on Friday, no one 19th or below has ever won. So you want to try and get all your picks 18 and above. I know it's hard with trying to pick them bottom guys, but try to Well, you want to pick guys that are going to finish the race. Yep. That's basically what you want to go after. 22 of 31 wins have come from the first 3 rows. And the pole winner has won the race 9 out of 31 times.
Okay.
It's almost 1 in 10.
So it's
Almost
very-
1/3.
Yep. Now, names you're going to want to watch out for. Marcos Ambrose, the road course wonder kid. Last year was the pole setter. Or pole winner, I'm sorry. Pole winner. But unfortunately wrecked and was out of the race. Brad Keselowski, always the bridesmaid, never the bride at the Glen. He's finished the last 3 races as the runner-up. Kyle Busch won last year.
Right.
Kind of up and down at the Glen, but if you're wanting to roll the dice, he always qualifies in the first several rows. So, there's a good chance that he's going to be up
last
front.
year. Didn't he come in second the year before?
I don't actually remember.
Yeah. Second the last 3 years.
So, yeah. You might be thinking Sonoma, maybe.
All right, go ahead.
And then Tony Stewart, you want to kind of watch. Tony Stewart leads most categories at the Glen, but recently has not been running too well. This season kind of doesn't have the mojo. His shots are, his chances to get in are starting to diminish.
Yeah.
I thought for sure I threw him on my team for Pocono because I'm like, he's got,
I know, I'm getting tired of doing it.
He's got to get one of these races, So, but those are some of the names to keep an eye out for this weekend. But, definitely wait until you see the qualifying before you set your roster.
And we'll look for your final decisions on Saturday.
Yep.
Okay, very good.
Well, you certainly hope Tony has some luck because a year ago he was already injured. As you remember, he had the compound break to his leg. He never even made it to the Glen last year for this race. So he is returning for the first time after 2 years. Yep. So I tend to agree with Sidekick. If he qualifies well, he could tear this up, and it might be the week to watch him.
Well,
yeah.
You got to think all of Stewart Haas is going to work to get him a win if they.
Oh, they got to. I mean, at one of these coming up.
The only way he's going to probably make the chase at this point.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, because he was running good at Pocono, relatively well at Pocono.
Till the big one.
And then got. I mean, that wreck took out both my teams for the most part.
Well, talking fantasy, let's take a look real quick at the Frat House Sports NASCAR Fantasy League. And there you go.
Oh, look at it. Half a point.
I didn't put a circle around it because normally, I don't know why this week, but normally we do cut off at 10, but for some reason it allowed for me to show 11, but
just
I'm in the 11th
your
spot.
name
No,
up
I didn't circle it. But, the fantasy team dropped back to second. Brandon's up in fourth ahead of Team Bloodback, so.
Yep.
But there you go. You got
Nate's hanging in there.
You got top fives right there at the house. All right.
Looks like Bloodpack may not repeat.
Well, you still got the chase to go through.
So
I don't think they're resetting them this year.
I don't know how that's going to work. We're going to have to wait and see how that's going to go. We'll have to wait and see.
May have to hand the mantle off to Sidekick.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see.
But we'll keep it in the family.
There's our race report for this week. And again, that was brought to you by Herb FM Sports Radio at herbfm.com. All right, check them out. All right. And before we wrap it up and roll it out, let's get
roll
over
out the barrel?
Yeah, we could do that. Let's get over and just remind you about frathousesports.net. All right, that's our webpage. So we got a web presence. Get out there and check that out. And hey, good sports talk. I feel alive again.
Hey, before you go
ahead.
You are correct in that Dallas game is going to be live on NFL Network tonight.
Oh.
I did not realize it's from San Diego.
Oh, it's in the West.
It's a West Coast 10 o'clock live start.
Okay, so we got 2 games this evening. We got this one
Also,
going
we
on.
might get to see Jerry Jones doing some deeds.
Yeah, possible. We got this one going on up here. Does anybody know the score of that San Fran? Not that it matters.
13-3 Ravens are in front at halftime, or just about halftime. Redskins are beating the Patriots 13-0 at half. Jets and Colts are tied at 10, and the Chiefs and Bengals are 16-17 but I think it's pending an extra point, so it might be time.
Okay, so this might be, okay, all right. And then yeah. And then we got, 10 o'clock then this evening, 10 o'clock Eastern time, you got the live broadcast for Dallas and San Diego
You
Chargers.
asked for scores, I gave you.
Thank you very much. That's why we have you sitting in the corner.
With the dunce cap on.
No, he said that. No,
What a strange person.
We'll be coming back at you next week exactly the same way we are right now. With big old smiles on our faces and really happy that football's getting closer and closer and closer.
Yep.
So you know what we got to do
and
for
that
us.
fantasy beatdown gets closer and closer.
Oh, we got the draft coming up in 2 weeks.
Smack
I think it
talk's
is 2
coming.
Unnecessary roughness. Watch out.
Who you keep in there, sidekick?
Uh-oh.
I don't know. I'm thinking
He's
about
not talking.
I'm thinking
He's
about
on.
turning the whole roster over again.
Wow.
Uh-oh.
You're going to get Mike all excited to get a good Broncos receiver.
Oh.
Well, we know he can't race very well.
Oh!
One pop.
You are a blabbermouth!
Let's get out of here. But before we do, you gotta keep us real, you gotta keep us live, and you gotta keep us going. We'll see you next week.
Nobody likes Fox.
I changed the graphic. You like the new graphic?
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, that is nice.
Sort of got an ESPN look there, sort of. Something.
Well, that's the logo. It's actually called.
Yeah, is that right? Yeah,
It's actually to save themselves on copyright. They call it SPN.
Yeah, there you go.
But it's the ESPN logo. Okay, we're gonna talk a little bit about the Washington Redskins. 1 and 2. I think there's only 2 at Stan Snyder again, and I'm gonna bring it up, and then we'll.
As he's wearing a Chiefs jersey.
Oh!